Are you eager as much as we are to see what the new Mate 10 Pro brings us? Stay with us to find out. Once again, Huawei aims for the very top. This time contender is named Mate 10 Pro, and it represents Huawei's vision of what a flagship should be like. Everything we could see in all other 2017 flagships is here. Amazing display with minimal bezels, brutal chipset, and something Huawei has perfected in the past years, the camera segment. There is no doubt that Huawei have positioned themselves as top camera manufacturers. On the first sight, the Mate 10 Pro seems to be an obvious opponent to the Samsung's flagship, the Note 8. But in order to spar with it, the Mate 10 Pro needs to show some real muscle. Another big news in the Mate 10 Pro is the new chipset, the Kirin 970, which brings machine learning to Huawei devices, but more on that a little bit later. Even before we got to test this device, the DxO Mark placed the quality of the main camera among the best 3 out there, side by side to the iPhone X and Google Pixel 2. Alongside the Pro version, Huawei also shipped out the Mate 10 and the Mate 10 Lite, with different specifications. The Pro version comes in several color options: midnight blue, mocha brown, pink gold, and titanium gray, which we have for our test. Inside the factory box, we have a Huawei fast charging adapter, USB Type-C cable, Type-C headphones, Type-C to 3.5mm adapter, a SIM tray tool, some paperwork, and as icing on the cake, a gel case for your Mate 10 Pro. The first thing that strikes the eye on the Mate 10 Pro is definitely its enormous display. Although the resolution of the display is lower compared to the base model, the Mate 10 Pro brings some improvements on that field. It can boast with a slightly bigger display than the base model because the front panel provides housing for a 6-inch display. This display, combined with minimal side bezels, offers the screen-to-body ratio of 80.9%. Another difference compared to the baseline Mate 10 is the resolution of the panel, Full HD Plus as opposed to QHD on the Mate 10. As these two devices are hardware-wise completely the same, smaller resolution display backed by the same power means better results, which we like very much. We'll speak of performances later. Now let's go back to the display. The Full HD Plus resolution with the aspect ratio of 18:9 combined with the 6-inch diagonal translates to 402 ppi, which is sharpness-wise comparable to the OnePlus 5T that we have reviewed earlier. This is an AMOLED display, and this matrix guarantees excellent black color reproduction as well as very vivid colors in general, and it can show up to 16.7 million different shades. Speaking of the color reproduction and the brightness of the display, the values depend on preset settings, normal or vivid. In the normal mode, the brightness can go up to 440 nits, while the vivid mode offers, well, more vivid colors, and the brightness on the direct sunlight alongside the auto mode can go up to 720 nits. The visibility of the sunlight is great, which is to be expected of an AMOLED display. It is also possible to adjust the color temperature, so next to the classic color display, you can go with slightly colder or warmer shades. This whole story about the display is complemented and enhanced by the HDR10 certificate, which is one of the must-have options in the top class. Although HDR materials are scarce, the HDR10 capability represents an excellent future-proofing point, and it is definitely not an overkill. Additional options offer the option to change the resolution of the display to HD+ in order to reduce the battery consumption, and the eye comfort mode is also there as something that will help you reduce the stress on the eyes while using the device in the dark. View mode offers an option to adjust the size of the display material, including the size of the text, which will certainly be very helpful to persons having issues with seeing. The display is protected by the Corning Gorilla Glass 5, which protects the front and the back of the device. Oh yeah, we must not forget this. The always-on display would be amazing, but sadly the Mate 10 Pro does not support this function. In the sea of Android devices powered by the strongest Qualcomm chipset, Huawei, like Apple, chose a different path and developed their own smartphone chipset. This is a chipset developed by HiSilicon, Huawei's daughter company, and they are to blame for making a new chipset capable of machine learning. The exact type of the chipset is Kirin 970, and it is a perfect competitor to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 and Apple's A11 Bionic chipsets. 10nm manufacturing process offers great conditions for longer battery life. Huawei's previous devices all had their own chipsets. They were mostly very good, but they all had a flaw in the GPU, which simply couldn't cope with the Full HD displays. Kirin 960 fixed this to a great extent, and Kirin 970 makes it even clearer that Huawei is very serious in making chipsets. The main use is machine learning through the Neural Processing Unit, or the NPU, which serves to teach the Mate 10 Pro to perform tasks like image and sound recognition much faster. Huawei calls this artificial intelligence, but this is far from truth. Machine learning found many more applications in this Huawei's device than in new Apple's devices, which is a great start. The chipset consists of completely the same CPU we could see in the Kirin 960 chipset. It is an octa-core CPU with the cores divided into two quad-core clusters. The first cluster has 4 Cortex A73 performance cores clocked at 2.4 GHz, while the other cluster has 4 power-saving Cortex A53 cores clocked at 1.8 GHz. Something that is completely new in this Huawei's chipset is the GPU. Malai G72 MP12, a 12-core monster, which is a perfect competitor to Qualcomm's Adreno 540, and it is a perfect choice for the resolution of the Mate 10 Pro. Another difference compared to the baseline Mate 10 is that the Pro version is, at least in Europe, more commonly available in 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage memory configuration, but also the 4 RAM and 64 ROM version is available. Luckily, the 6GB version is more common, and we think it is the more logical option for the Mate 10 Pro and everything following it, since the microSD card we could see in the Mate 10 is this time missing. The system works very harmoniously, with no signs of stuttering or bottlenecking. Screen transitions are executed with ease, and applications are started almost instantly. Whether you're starting a demanding 3D game, Lightroom, or any social network application, the Mate 10 Pro will show top-notch performances comparable to, or even better than anything Android devices have to offer. On the Antutu benchmark, the Mate 10 Pro scored a result of 176,068, which sets it side by side to the S8, S8 Plus, and Note 8, and other flagships powered by the Qualcomm's chipset. We did not notice any overheating of the device, so there was no drops in performances. The lack of the microSD card slot is a minus, as is the removal of the 3.5mm port, but Huawei was considerate enough to include a Type-C to 3.5mm port adapter. Stereo speakers are an excellent addition, and they are always welcome, but this time stereo sound is produced by one speaker at the bottom of the device and another that is used for talking. The sound is loud and clear, with pretty good basses, and you'll only notice it is stereo when you cover one of the speakers. The device is waterproof, and it has the IP67 water and dust resistance certificate, which guarantees submerging in 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. The fingerprint scanner is a staple part of every modern flagship, and in the Mate 10 Pro it is located on the back, just below the main camera setup. This is another difference compared to the Mate 10, where the fingerprint scanner is implemented into the home button on the front of the device. It works great, and it is positioned wonderfully. When we are speaking of software of the Mate 10 Pro, everything runs great as well. Huawei shipped the Mate 10 Pro with the Android 8.0 Oreo pre-installed, and onto it placed their own EMUI 8.0 user interface, which we all know very well, and in this iteration it looks even better. Something that the average user will notice first is the lack of the classic app drawer. Everything is located on the desktop, you just need to swipe left and right. This, however, can be changed through the settings, so there's an option to set the app drawer. Security patches are dated to November. Top-notch photos have become synonymous with Huawei, and this time as well we encounter an amazing photo shooting machine. The double main camera setup has become standard for the premium class in 2017, and Huawei, as usual, implemented one RGB and one monochrome sensor. These are two sensors with different resolutions. The RGB sensor is capable of distinguishing colors, and it is a 12 megapixel sensor, while the monochrome sensor has the resolution of 20 megapixels. Both of them have the aperture of f1.6, which guarantees great nighttime photos. The RGB sensor has optical image stabilization, while the monochrome sensor is in and of itself more sensitive, so OIS is not that necessary. As before, the sensors work in pair, as they patch several different frames in order to produce better photos. They are, as usual, signed by Leica. The width of both sensors is 27mm. Another important thing is the 2x optical zoom with no loss of quality, which is possible only in 12 megapixel quality. Autofocus is made possible by using 4 different systems: laser autofocus, depth sensor, contrast detection, and phase detection autofocus. Although it is perfectly fast and precise, Samsung is still ahead of the competition with their dual pixel autofocus. Great auto mode is helped by the MPU, which we have mentioned before, and which can recognize up to 14 different scenes and adjust the settings accordingly. New chipset and machine learning have improved the picture quality as well. Plenty of details and incredibly low levels of noise is something Huawei is very proud of. Also, machine learning should improve the portrait mode just because it can distinguish better between the object of the photo and the background. Results are remarkable daytime photos with a number of details, low levels of noise, and very good color reproduction. The dynamic range is also on par, and it can be even better through the HDR, which has the auto mode. Nighttime photos are also excellent. First, there's the amazing aperture, and second, there's the monochrome sensor, which is sure to bring better contrast in low light scenes with more details and less digital noise. The Pro mode is one of the best we have had a chance to see, so you can adjust field of focus, ISO values, shutter speed up to 30 seconds, scene exposition settings, autofocus system mode, and white balance. There's also the option to save the photos in RAW format. Next to all this, you can also find an option to add a watermark, backup focus light, and focus grid, and the volume rockers can be programmed to take photos or focus the picture through them. The variable aperture is something we especially liked, as well as the portrait mode, and it offers the range of f0.95 to f16. It brings pretty good photos with a nice feel of depth. But if you zoom into the parts of the photo where the object and the background are separated, you will notice some artifacts. Anyway, this is more than just good as far as social networks are concerned. In order to easily access the camera and snap a quick photo, all you need to do is press the volume down button twice while the device is in the sleep mode. The camera interface has remained the same as it was in the P10 and the Honor 9. The double two-tone LED flash is located to the left of the camera sensor. It is pretty strong and it will do an amazing job if, for example, you are taking a photo of a document in low-light environments. The video segment is also great. The Mate 10 Pro can capture extraordinary 4K videos at 30 FPS, with plenty of details, low levels of noise, and great color reproduction. There's also an option to follow the object in focus, and the OIS is available only in Full HD resolution at 30 FPS and lower. Slow motion videos are captured in Full HD 1080p resolution at 120 FPS, or in HD 720p resolution at 240 FPS. The front-facing camera has the resolution of 8 megapixels and the aperture of f2.0. Photos taken by the front-facing camera are pretty good, with the addition of software portrait mode and the beauty mode. At best, it can take 1080p Full HD videos at 30 FPS with stereo sound. Group portrait selfie videos are also supported, and this way all faces on camera will be sharpened while the background will get blurred. Huawei calls this AI selfie, and it represents another part of the Mate 10 Pro where we can see the implementation of machine learning. Video mode is also stabilized. The flash is made possible through the software. Huawei Mate 10 Pro that we have for our test is BLA L29 version, which comes with a dual SIM tray, and that supports nano SIM cards. The lack of the 3.5mm headphone port is supplemented by a Type-C to 3.5mm adapter that comes inside the factory box. This means that the port used for charging and data transfer is Type-C version 1.0 with a 3.1 speed certificate. The list of wireless connections consists of Wi-Fi 802.11 with A, B, G, N, and AC standards, Bluetooth 4.2, AGPS, GPS, GLONASS, and BDS, and NFC. The only downside that we could find is that the Bluetooth version is only 4.2, while the competitor flagships, which have the Qualcomm's hardware, all have Bluetooth 5.0. The modem built into the Kirin 970 supports theoretical maximum and download speeds in 4G networks up to 1200 megabits per second, while the upload speeds go up to 150 megabits per second. Another great thing in this whole package is the battery capacity, 4000 mAh. This is a non-removable lithium polymer battery, so you won't be able to freely swap between batteries. All this is the same as in the Mate 10, and if we compare these two to their main contender, the Note 8, they bring 700 mAh more. Amazing! Fast charging is of course supported, and it offers up to 58% of the charge in just half an hour. We charged the device to 100% in 1 hour and 15 minutes, and the results we got with one full charge are around 23 hours of moderate use with the active mobile networks and Wi-Fi, and with brightness set at around 70%. The power saving mode is also here, and it gets activated once the battery percentage drops down to 15%. Wireless charging is sadly not here, although the back of the device is built of glass, which is a basic prerequisite that makes the implementation possible. All in all, great results for such a powerful device with an excellent display. Great job, Huawei! Huawei made it again! This is an excellent flagship device that will easily spar with the competitors, and in some areas even emerge victorious. Amazing cameras that in several occasions made us think if we even needed a DSLR camera, and a top-notch AMOLED display simply leave no room for error. The IP67 certification is here, however the IP68 would be even better. Also, we have somehow swallowed the removal of the 3.5mm port. The market price of the Mate 10 Pro seems perfectly reasonable. Huawei has found its place on the smartphone market, so if you're searching for an alternative to, for example, Samsung's Note 8, which is a little bit more expensive, the Mate 10 Pro is more than just a good substitute. Do you like the Huawei Mate 10 Pro? We'd like to see your opinion in the comment section below. If you have any suggestions or you would like to see a specific device being reviewed soon, feel free to write to us either here or on our Facebook page. If you like this review, subscribe to our Facebook channel and like us on Facebook while we're bringing you more good stuff.